Okay, so we are lucky enough to have another guest speaker today, and this is Dr. Kathleen Insel, and she's at the University of Arizona in the College of Nursing. I have fond memories of the University of Arizona from my internship year. You're trained as a nurse, right?
Yeah.
Initially, and then your PhD you said was in education.
Educational psychology.
Educational psychology.
Yeah.
So like many nurses, we heard from Shelley last week, you went out and did a lot of clinical work in nursing, right?
Yeah.
Before you came back and got your PhD. She has a lot of expertise in the area of cognitive aging too, which we are going to benefit from today. Has done work with interventions to enhance self-management and chronic illnesses. And if you took a look at some of her articles from today, hopefully she'll be talking about some of her multifaceted perspective memory intervention and some of the new app development that they've been thinking about. So we're really pleased to have you here today.
Thank you.
And we look forward to learning more about your work.
I'm actually so honored by the invitation. When I got the email from Diane, I was really like, oh, this is great. And then I get to go to Missoula and see my grandson. So this all came together as a nice package for me. Thank you for the invitation. Thanks for your attention this morning. But please know that I welcome interruptions, and I'd rather have this be a dialogue than just a direct kind of lecture format. So what I'm going to talk about is cognitive aging and self-management and opportunities for technology, because that's what I thought you were interested in. I do want to call your attention to this website. It might be very helpful if you're putting things together. It's agingstats.gov, and you'll have the website on the video that you have. So, and I can send you these slides. So. You should have it, but it will give you charts of disease and also of needs in terms of living situations and particular demographic issues and ethnicity issues in terms of older Americans. So today I'm going to start by talking about the evidence for age-related cognitive decline, and I know that this for Dr. Schmitter-Edgecombe is going to be very basic. And for those of you in psychology, it may feel very redundant, but you're a mixed audience, and so I'm going to start, by trying to integrate these things. And this is probably the area that I have found my niche in nursing, and it's something that I think I can do for you. Also, chronic illness and their impact on cognitive function. And treatment and cognitive function. So treatment is usually beneficial. I also work with a colleague, she's actually my boss, but she's a PI on pediatric study with kids with ALL. So I use my same model with my work with her. In that case, treatment is detrimental to cognitive health. So when you're giving kids intrathecal methotrexate, which is into the spinal column and into the brain, it can cause harm, and we've been tracking that in the cognitive effects. So the same model works. The point is that there's aging, there's disease, there's treatment, and those all have implications for cognitive function and then for self-management. So then I'll talk a little bit about the association of cognition and self-management. And then interventions that target cognitive function and hence can provide avenues to improve self-management. So I'll tell you specifically about an intervention study that I did that I think you'll be quite interested in, because it really capitalizes on what we know about prospective memory. And then I will talk a little bit, and you are much more expert at leveraging technology to support self-management than I am. I come to this with great humility. And one of the things I want to leave you with is I have a team of experts, and we work together, and everybody contributes. And I've often thought that your expertise, your unique expertise, is what you offer to the group. But that the synergy of that is really the exciting thing. So philosophically, I think I'm on the same page as you are. So this has been my overview of my research program, Aging, Chronic Disease, Consequences of Treatment, Implications for Cognitive Function, and then implications for how well people assess their symptoms. Did a little study with a colleague on breathlessness as a symptom in people with COPD. And your ability to assess changing symptoms also is influenced by cognitive function. And then implications for self-management. And I'll come back to this diagram. And you know what they tell you when you start out? They tell you that you need to have a little elevator speech. In 2 to 3 minutes, you need to be able to tell people what you do, and so that someone else can understand it. This is my little elevator speech. This is my conceptual model. So what's cognitive aging first? And again, if this is kind of low level for you, you know, forgive me, but it's not dementia. This is something that I have fought in nursing. So people ask, what are your biggest hurdles? In nursing, when I talked about cognitive decline and cognitive aging, they assumed I was talking about dementia. This is not dementia. This is age-associated cognitive change. So your skin changes, your brain changes. Your vascular system takes, you know, some trauma throughout your life, and that affects your brain cells as well. So we're not talking about dementia. At least I'm not talking about dementia, although I think some of the same strategies might be useful. I'm really talking about the processes that influence prefrontal cortical function. They're the area where we think the online processing occurs in the brain, so the active workspace. And evidence implicates changes in executive function, which I don't know if you know what that is, but that is basically your ability to focus attention, sustain attention, inhibit distractions, and it involves too an element of working memory, so capacity is in there. Can you hold things in mind while you're working on them as working memory? I tend to make the distinction because some people don't include that with executive function, and it really depends upon the view that they're working on. But this is where, if you think about this in terms of implications for your smart homes and your sensors, this is where I think we can help people the most. For myself, when I was an undergraduate, I read Walden 2. Now, many of you may not know that book. It was kind of a utopian view of the world and how it was written by B.F. Skinner. We know he's the great behaviorist, stimulus response, how you could shape your environment so that everybody was happy. This appealed to me greatly as an undergraduate at a very volatile time in our culture. During, if you want to know, and I'll date myself, during the Vietnam War, you know, I thought, oh, this would be great if everybody, you know, had the appropriate environmental support. And of course, Skinner's work was largely discounted because it really left out the important components of motivation and thinking and self-determination. And I appreciate that, but I also think that you can build an environment like you're building to shape the responses that will help people live independently. So that's been kind of my philosophical bend. So other things about cognitive aging compared to young counterparts, and this is well established in the literature, older adults do not hold and manipulate information as well as younger people do, and this is a decrease in capacity. They don't inhibit distracting information, pay attention, focused and sustained attention, as well as younger people. They don't tend to switch tasks when necessary, so they tend to perseverate. So it's kind of persistence gone bad. Some of these people, they're survivors, the ones you're working with. They've already made it beyond 65. So they have great belief in themselves sometimes, and like, this should work, this should work, this should work, you know, and let's keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. And as you're building the smart homes, that's another, you know, important thing to understand is they might, you know, keep on trying the same thing that's not working. And so how to shape that, you know, with some kind of decision tree so that they go into a different place. So process information is quickly. Well-known cognitive slowing occurs with aging. This has been most talked about and written about by Tim Salthouse. And also more confusion in source memory. What's source memory? That's, did I do it or did I think I did it because I've been doing it every day for the last 2 years? Did I take my medications this morning, or do I just think I took them because I've been doing it every day? So in my mind, you have to, it's like leaving rabbit tracks in the snow, which I know in Pullman you'll understand what that means. So it's like being able to track back, did I complete this essential task? And then building the home too, so they don't have to remember to turn off the iron or the toaster or, you know, whatever, because it'll automatically go off. So we also see declines in prospective memory. I am so fortunate to have benefited from the work of really great people in these areas. Gil Einstein is a colleague. He's at a small little college called Furman in South Carolina, in Greenville, South Carolina. He's an international expert in prospective memory. What is that? So you think of memory, you think of things you did, things you completed. Prospective memory is things that you intend to do, like taking medication. So this has been, his work has been very important to me in terms of the lab behavioral work that he's done. Okay, so just to give you a little view, this is a classic picture from Tim Salthouse on working memory declines and when you see these declines. So believe it or not, your brain takes a hit between 25 and 35, you already start to lose. But it's made up for by your education, your expertise, the developing wisdom that you have. I really believe this, and you know better what to focus attention on. So you really don't see these kinds of problems until over age 65. But then you see a pretty good decline in working memory. This is happening to me. You would give me a phone number before I could remember it. My husband thought I was a walking phone book. Now, we don't need them now because we have smartphones. But at the time, you know, I was the walking phone book. I can't do that anymore. I have to write the number down. So what we end up doing is we end up working on strategies to get around these limitations and these changes. And then Engel, who you're very familiar with, Randy Engel, who's looked also at age groups, and these are Z-scores in relationship to line span, letter rotation. These are all capacity issues in different domains, visual and oral, reading or hearing, and computation span. So declines occur, you see this starting to occur in the 60s, but really after the 70s, you really see this dive. It's discouraging, but not hopeless, not with the right environmental support. So theories of cognitive aging, just to sum them up, age-related changes in speed, so slowing, working memory declines, declines in attention, declines in inhibition, check Patrick Rabbit or Miyake, declines in recall but not recognition. This was 1965. You know, recall was hard for older adults to do, but if you cue the recall, they can do it. So recognition memory did not decline. You see how we can use these things that we've learned to really support older adults. And then depletion of attentional resources with age and the effect of environmental support. This is Gus Craig from University of Toronto, the Rotman Institute also in Toronto. So this is probably where I have placed my biggest theoretical framework in terms of trying to change those kind of self-initiated processes to more automatic processes that are well preserved with age. Okay, so more associative processes rather than self-initiated processes. Maureen knows all of this stuff and she's smiling. So because I don't know how many of you have seen this before, I'm going to do this. I just want to exemplify something about memory. I want you to read this list: bed, rest, awake, tired, dream, wake, snooze, blanket, doze, slumber, snore, nap, peace, yawn, drowsy. Okay, now tell me, don't write them down. Tell me, was door on the list? Thank you for responding. Was bed on the list? Was pillow on the list? No. Was nap on the list? Was vegetable on the list? Was sleep on the list? Yeah. There you go. I love doing that. I love doing it because you can see how all of us forget. Our memories are not some digital recording, you know, that we can pull it up. So we all use environmental support to some degree or another. And please don't feel tricked, because I fell for this. So I'm not trying to, you know, be in this kind of like know-it-all position. It's just that forgetting is really a characteristic of memory. So you know that people are going to forget. And there are age-related declines in thinking and remembering. But the other caveat is that there's a lot of individual differences. So you may have a couple, and I'm going to pick on the husband just because I'm a woman. The husband is becoming more impaired than the wife. You can capitalize on that social interaction as well to improve things for older adults.